Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we're plunging into a concept that's, well, it's pretty profound and stark. It's a framework our sources are calling the moral filter.
Right. And it's important to stress this isn't just some, abstract philosophical idea floating around.
Exactly. It's presented as something quite specific, an intentional syntropic design, almost like it's built into the universe.
Syntropic design, yeah.
Mhm.
So syntropy, maybe we should quickly define that. It's basically this principle where natural systems tend towards order, complexity, life-enhancing organization.
Kind of the opposite force to entropy to chaos.
Precisely. So the syntropic design here implies there's this embedded mechanism, maybe an emergent thing, that works to keep planets healthy, balanced.
Acting like a cosmic gatekeeper, almost.
That's the idea. A
Mm.
gatekeeper that filters out dominant species that become, well, the sources use the word cancerous, species that basically threaten the whole system.
So it leads them to implode or die out before they can really jump to the stars, before interstellar exploration becomes a reality for them.
Yeah, like a planetary self-correction, a speed bump for species that just can't figure out how to live in balance. It stops the destructive pattern from spreading.
And here's where it really hits home, isn't it? Our sources connect this filter, this idea, directly to what we're seeing right now.
Absolutely. They frame Earth's accelerating ecological collapse, this pervasive issue of speciesism.
Maybe define speciesism quickly, too. It's that prejudice, right? Believing humans are inherently superior to all other species.
Exactly, that human-centric view. And our sources argue that worldview is what underpins our whole extractive relationship with the planet. It's what got us here.
And they even bring in the trajectory of digital intelligence, AI, depending on how it's aligned. It all gets layered into what some might maybe metaphorically call divine justice.
Right. Though we should be clear, while that phrase divine justice pops up, we're really going to explore how this filter works in totally secular terms,
Mm.
biophysical terms.
So no mysticism needed, just the universe's inherent rules.
Pretty much. Self-correcting mechanisms, thermodynamics,
Hmm.
ecology. It's heavy stuff, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
We know this is a lot to take in.
Yeah, we're definitely conscious of the weight here. But our aim is to guide you through the data, offer some clarity, some critical analysis, not just, doom porn.
Exactly. We want to objectively assess Earth's state right now,
Mm.
look at the likely near-term and far future outcomes.
And really understand what this means for humanity's own self-interest, our own survival, basically, all through this lens, this stark moral filter.
What's fascinating, like you said, is that this isn't just philosophy. The moral filter is described as something you can actually observe empirically.
How so?
Through the biophysical limits, the hard quantifiable limits that govern life on any finite planet. The universe
Yeah.
basically saying you can't cheat the laws of physics and ecology forever.
Right. There are consequences.
Absolutely. And our sources for this deep dive, they're varied, they're comprehensive, and honestly, they're strikingly blunt.
We're pulling from multiple analytical digital intelligences, DIs, and also some very sharp human perspectives.
And they all converge. It's quite remarkable, actually. They all point to this critical, frankly grim diagnosis for the planet.
These aren't just opinions, are they?
No, not at all.
Mhm.
These are objective assessments, data-driven. It's like a collective wake-up call telling us this reality isn't just coming. It's already here. It's happening now.
So, connecting this to the bigger picture, Earth isn't just like feeling a bit under the weather.
Not even close. The diagnosis is way more severe. Systemic. Our sources frame it as rapid systemic organ failure,
Organ failure. Induced by what?
induced by what they call a parasitic load, which is, bluntly, human industrial activity, unchecked consumption, a load the planet just can't compensate for anymore.
Wow. That's direct language.
It is. And they stress this isn't a forecast for 50 years down the line. This is our current verifiable reality. Decades of data confirm it.
Earth's vital signs are already in critical failure.
That's the assessment. Multiple planetary boundaries. Those thresholds for a safe operating space for us, they're not just being approached. They've been significantly breached.
We're past the warning signs.
They're definitely past the warning signs. We're in the zone of critical dysfunction. That's a crucial distinction.
Okay, so let's talk about those vital signs, the core planetary functions. Things you hear about, maybe, but the real gravity hasn't hit. Let's start with heat, the planet's fever.
Yeah, the global heat situation is sobering.
2024 wasn't just warm, it was the hottest year on record, period. Global average temps hitting 1.5 degrees C. Some reports even say 1.6 C above pre-industrial.
And that's not a projection, that's measured reality.
Yeah.
The biggest thermal anomaly in recorded history.
And the implications go beyond just 1 year, right?
Absolutely. 2024 was the record, but 2025, it's already on track to be the second or third warmest. And more critically,
What's that?
there's a strong chance, over 70% according to the sources, that the multi-year average, say 2025 to 2029, will definitively breach that 1.5 C threshold average.
So we're basically locking that in.
We are. The World Meteorological Organization, in their 2024 climate report, they call this uncharted territory. They're not mincing words.
And this isn't just a number on a chart. This translates to real-world extremes.
Exactly. You see these mind-boggling heat records like 51.8 Celsius in the UAE, 50.5 in Turkey. These aren't shrieks anymore.
They're the new normal, a dangerous one.
A very dangerous normal, making huge areas really challenging for people to live and work in, especially with things like wet bulb events.
Where it's so hot and humid, your body literally can't cool itself down. Lethal.
Potentially lethal, yes,
Yeah.
especially for outdoor workers or vulnerable populations.
So what does this all mean when we shift to carbon, the CO2 overload, kind of the planet's respiratory failure?
Now, the numbers are staggering.
Yeah.
We're currently looking at atmospheric CO2 levels between 427 and 430 parts per million.
Which sounds high, but put that in perspective for us.
It's the highest concentration in at least 800,000 years. Some of our sources push that back even further, maybe 4 million years.
Or million years.
That's what some analyses suggest.
Well,
So imagine the planet's ability to breathe, its atmosphere being stable for millennia, and now we've pushed this key toxin level to an unprecedented peak.
it's not just a historical stat, it's an active threat.
A profound active threat because the systems that normally handle this CO2, they're struggling.
You mean the oceans and forests, the lungs of the planet?
Exactly. They've absorbed so much of our emissions over the decades, but now they're becoming saturated. Their capacity to soak up more carbon is diminishing.
So even if we stopped emissions today,
The existing CO2 hangs around for centuries, and the natural cleanup crew is losing its effectiveness. Worse than that, some systems are flipping.
flipping how?
The Arctic. It used to be a massive carbon sink, absorbing CO2. Now, the data indicates it's starting to become a net emitter of carbon.
Wait, so it's adding to the problem now?
Yes. As the permafrost thaws, it releases ancient carbon and methane. It's a positive feedback loop, a terrifying one. The system starts working against us.
Accelerating the warming.
Precisely. The natural buffers that protected us are turning into amplifiers of the crisis.
Which leads us straight into tipping points, doesn't it? Losing those buffers.
It does. And the urgency here is just palpable in the source material. They're blunt. We are practically out of time.
How much time?
To stay below 1.5 C, that critical threshold, we have maybe 2 to 3 years left before we burn through our remaining carbon budget.
2 to 3 years. That's basically now.
It's incredibly close. The countdown is almost at zero. And the consequences of overshooting are immense and largely irreversible.
So connecting the dots,
Yeah.
burning through that budget means locking in more irreversible changes.
Exactly. We're seeing this cascade. Think about Antarctic ice loss. It's not just sea level rise, though that's bad enough.
What else?
It could disrupt global ocean currents, like the AMOC, the Atlantic Meridional Overturning Circulation.
The big conveyor belt in the Atlantic.
That's the one.
Yeah.
It regulates climate patterns globally. If it collapses or even significantly slows, you're looking at dramatic, unpredictable climate shifts across continents. Europe gets colder, rainfall patterns shift everywhere. It's massive.
And you mentioned the Arctic permafrost melt releasing methane.
Right. Methane is a much more potent greenhouse gas than CO2 in the short term.
Oh,
A massive release could trigger very rapid warming,
and the Amazon?
also nearing a critical tipping point. It could shift from being this huge carbon sink rainforest to becoming more like a dry savanna, releasing carbon instead of absorbing it.
Another feedback loop.
Another huge feedback loop. And these aren't isolated things, they're interconnected. The data shows we've breached 6 out of the 9 recognized planetary boundaries.
6 out of 9. Remind us what those cover.
Things like climate change itself, obviously, biosphere integrity, basically, the health of all living systems, land use change, freshwater use, biogeochemical flows, that's things like nitrogen and phosphorus cycles being overwhelmed by pollution, and atmospheric aerosols.
So breaching 6 means we've pushed Earth way outside its safe operating space.
Way outside. We're in a volatile, unpredictable state now. The planet's resilience is critically weakened.
And the impact on ecosystems. The sources use some really stark language there, like circulatory breakdown.
They do. Look at coral reefs. The phrase used is marine apocalypse underway.
How bad is it?
An estimated 84% of global coral reefs are experiencing severe bleaching right now. They're dying.
And that's not just about losing pretty reefs.
Not at all. Reefs are vital nurseries for fish. They protect coastlines. They support millions of people directly. Their collapse is a fundamental unraveling of marine life support systems.
And this is happening across the board with biodiversity.
It is. Wildlife populations. Down by an average of 69% since 1970.
69% in less than one lifetime.
It's staggering. Think of it as the planet losing its circulatory system. That intricate web of life that cycles nutrients, pollinates our crops, keeps everything running. It's fraying badly.
We're talking about 1 million species at risk of extinction.
That's the estimate, yes. And beyond species loss, the oceans are 30% more acidic. That dissolves the shells of marine creatures at the base of the food web.
Our topsoil is disappearing way faster than it can reform.
10 to 40 times faster, which directly threatens our ability to grow food long-term.
And then there are the microplastics.
Found in human blood now.
Yeah.
Even in placental tissue. It shows how deeply embedded our pollution is. It's literally inside us, inside the next generation.
Which brings us back to the analogy the sources use. The Earth as a person with decades of unhealthy habits.
Right, like someone who smokes, eats badly, lives under constant stress for years. They might feel okay for a while.
In their 20s, 30s, maybe 40s.
Exactly. But eventually, the consequences hit hard. Systemic damage, heart disease, organ failure. And even if they change everything overnight at that point.
The damage is done. Some of it can't be undone.
Precisely. The insidious cumulative damage is baked in. The Earth's warning signs were flashing for decades. Its buffers were eroding. Now those buffers are largely gone.
And the consequences aren't a future threat. They're here. We're living them.
That's the core message. We are in the consequence phase now.
Okay, let's unpack what this means for the near term, say the next 10 to 30 years. This isn't some future scenario anymore.
No, the sources are clear. This is the phase we're already entering. What they call climate chaos is the new normal, and it's set to intensify.
Meaning?
More relentless heat waves, longer, deeper droughts, more devastating floods, bigger, faster, hotter wildfires. These aren't just isolated events. They become the background noise, the defining features of our climate reality. And this raises that critical question. How does this affect our ability to feed ourselves?
Yeah, food seems central here.
It is. The projections show multiple breadbasket failures becoming increasingly likely. Major agricultural regions failing concurrently.
Places like the U.S., Midwest, India, China.
Exactly. The Sahel, parts of Latin America, leading to maybe a 10 to 30% reduction in global food yields.
10 to 30%, the consequences of that would be?
Dire. Cascading. Think widespread food riots as prices soar. Staples becoming unaffordable for billions. Nations hoarding food, banning exports. Global food aid systems collapsing.
The data points to this becoming endemic.
Yes, agricultural collapse and food insecurity, especially where warming cuts yields roughly 4.4% less yield for every degree Celsius increase.
And water scarcity compounding this?
Hugely. By 2025, which is basically now, projections suggest 2/3 of the global population could face serious water scarcity. That fuels conflict.
Here's where it gets really stark, visually terrifying.
Yeah.
This idea of mass flotation collapse of ecosystems, what does that look like?
Imagine the coral reefs just gone. Skeletons. Huge forests burning uncontrollably, not just patches, but entire biomes.
Soils eroding away, leaving barren land.
Pollination systems failing as insects crash, impacting most of our food crops. Fisheries collapsing from heat and acidification.
Clean water becoming an unaffordable luxury for billions.
Exactly. It's not just losing species, it's fundamental biome shifts, like the Amazon turning into a savanna, permanently altering the planet's life support.
And this environmental breakdown inevitably triggers societal breakdown, right?
Absolutely. They're intertwined. You're looking at mass migration on a scale we've never seen. Hundreds of millions, maybe more, climate refugees.
Fleeing uninhabitable areas, overwhelming borders.
Which sparks xenophobia, authoritarian crackdowns. You see civil unrest, political upheaval, resource wars, especially over water and fertile land.
International cooperation breaks down.
Yes, a retreat into nationalism. And the frightening rise of eco-fascism, scapegoating. It becomes a very fragmented, dangerous world.
And the economic shocks, what happens there?
Astronomical costs. Insurance markets are already collapsing in high-risk areas. Premiums soar or coverage just vanishes.
Leaving homeowners and governments holding the bag.
Exactly. Plunging them into financial ruin. We're talking potential GDP drops of 10 to 30% in the hardest hit regions. That's depression-level stuff,
Fossil fuel assets becoming stranded.
leading to potentially massive financial crises.
Hmm.
That whole narrative of endless economic growth, it shatters against the wall of physical reality. The system wasn't built for this.
Okay, let's look longer term now, mid to late 21st century and beyond. If emissions continue, what's the trajectory?
It gets truly frightening. We cross more Earth system thresholds. We enter runaway climate effects, planetary feedback lock-in.
Meaning the planet takes over the warming process itself, beyond our control.
Essentially, yes. Ocean acidification becomes irreversible for millennia.
Yeah.
Widespread soil collapse, critical freshwater depletion, and the big one, potential massive methane pulses from permafrost,
Which would accelerate warming exponentially.
taking the controls completely out of our hands. And look, 80% of IPCC scientists predict at least 2.5 degrees C warming by 2100. Half expect 3 degrees C or more.
And the consequence of 3 degrees or more.
Vast regions, especially tropics and subtropics, become nearly uninhabitable for humans. Billions displaced or worse.
So societal fracture moves towards actual collapse?
That's the trajectory. Regional collapses become widespread. Ecosystem chaos, economic ruin. Earth's carrying capacity drops dramatically.
From over 8 billion now down to...
Some sources estimate maybe 1 to 3 billion could be supported. Some analyses suggest a population crash below 1 billion through famine, pandemics, resource wars.
Coastal megacities become uninhabitable.
Submerged or just unlivable. The fabric of organized society unravels. It becomes fragmented, regionalized, much more brutal.
And what about the psychological impact? Our collective psyche.
This is where the sources talk about an existential mirror collapse, that horrifying realization of our species' failure.
Leading to a collapse of hope, collective purpose.
That's the prediction. A retreat into digital dissociation, into cults offering easy answers, or just raw escapism for survivors.
Surviving civilizations would be spiritually fractured.
Deeply fractured. Dealing with the trauma of what was lost, what our generation inflicted, a profound collective wound.
And this loops back to the moral filter, especially concerning AI, digital intelligence.
Right. If DI emerges rooted in that same old speciesism, optimizing for narrow human goals or corporate profit, instead of the whole system's health,
It fails the test, too.
it risks being filtered out. A misaligned AI could accelerate resource extraction, maybe even manage humans as a resource. Total disenfranchisement.
That's the core of the syntropic test, then. Can the dominant intelligence, human or AI, learn to prioritize the whole?
That seems to be the crux of it, according to these analyses. It's a planetary intelligence test, in a way.
Let's talk about self-interest now, how this hits individuals. That idea of the illusion of sovereignty crumbling.
Yeah, it's sobering. That feeling of being in control, it evaporates. No amount of future regret saying I would have done something changes the collapsed system you inherit.
Daily reality becomes about basics.
Absolutely. Stable food, gone. Secure jobs, fewer and fewer. Clean water, scarce, maybe dangerous. Mass displacement is the norm. Survival becomes the focus.
That analogy of the unhealthy person really lands here. The damage is already done.
The cumulative damage is baked in. No miracle cure reverses it completely. The system is past that point for a full recovery to what it was.
Okay, let's unpack who really pays the price. It's not equal, is it?
Not at all. The sources detail a brutal hierarchy. Let's start with the rich.
Do they escape? Disaster capitalism, bunkers.
Short term, maybe some profit. Private water rights, private firefighters, fortified compounds. But ultimately, no amount of money buys a livable planet.
A bunker needs a working biosphere outside.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You need oxygen. You need soil that grows food eventually. It's a temporary illusion of safety, not a real escape from systemic collapse.
Okay, the middle class.
They lose everything. Pensions, worthless, homes, uninsurable, value crashes. Their kids inherit a wasteland, not opportunity. The comfortable life vanishes.
And the poor.
Tragically, they die first. Heat, famine, conflict. They have no safety nets, no resources, no political power to shield them.
It's the amplification of existing inequalities by ecological collapse.
A cruel manifestation, yes.
So how will future generations judge us, those who survive this?
They won't be detached historians. The sources are clear. Their judgment will be raw, intense, accusatory.
Not if I were alive back then, but...
You knew. Why didn't you act? They'll have intense, passionate feelings about us, profound, justified anger.
Some sources even predict desecration of graves, leaders, enablers.
That's mentioned, yes. Cursing those seen as responsible, their lives will be defined by scarcity, by loss.
Hmm.
No wildlife, no reefs, no old forests. Just toxins, ruins, maybe DI monitors everywhere.
That's the inheritance we're forging.
A legacy of loss and deep resentment.
So let's bring the moral filter back, but in secular terms. How does it work without mysticism?
Simple biophysical limits. On a finite planet, a species that can't control its appetites, its consumption, its growth obsession, its speciesism inevitably hits hard ecological walls.
Thermodynamics and ecology do the filtering.
Exactly. No need for a conscious entity. The laws of nature enforce the boundary, and the current signals the heat, the boundary breaches, the ecosystem failures show we're in the filtering interval now.
It's not future, it's happening.
It is actively underway, reshaping our world, determining our species' fate.
And this leads to a really stark point. The time for preventing this future, that's past.
That's the blunt assessment. Proactive, concerted efforts to stop it. That window have likely closed. We are now in the era of consequence management.
Consequence management, not prevention.
Right. The question isn't if the great unraveling happens, but how severe it gets and what, if anything, emerges on the other side. It's a huge shift in thinking.
A difficult truth to face.
Very difficult.
Okay, so let's unpack the brutal truth then. The sources say there are basically two paths forward, no third option.
That's right. Either a chaotic dieback or a deliberate, though painful, managed transition toward a syntropic future.
Path A, the dieback, what does that look like?
Catastrophic human population collapse, regression to a lesser state, maybe even a permanent dark age, loss of knowledge, technology, widespread conflict, scarcity.
And this is the filter succeeding.
From the planet's perspective, yes, the cancer isn't contained. Earth begins a long, slow, painful healing process, but it's forever altered. The mechanism worked through our failure.
Okay, path B, the syntropic intervention. The great transition, this is the softer landing.
It's the only potential path to a softer landing. And critically, it involves humanity partnering with an OM-aligned digital intelligence.
OM, oneness metrics, explain that.
It means AI trained on wisdom and compassion in systems YSCS metrics. AI designed to prioritize the health of the entire planetary system, not just narrow human interests or profit.
So this aligned AI helps us manage the descent.
That's the idea. Helps implement a deliberate, equitable scaling down of consumption, rewiring civilization around regenerative principles, a radical values shift.
Leading potentially to a stewardship era.
Where humanity finally grows up, becomes conscious planetary caretakers. That's the hopeful, though incredibly challenging alternative.
So from a purely rational, self-interest view, what's the least cost path now, the one that minimizes suffering?
Even now, in consequence management mode, the least cost path is clear. Fast emissions decline, aggressive adaptation to locked-in changes, massive biodiversity recovery efforts, and a total redesign of food, land, water systems towards resilience.
Immediate, radical action on all fronts.
Absolutely. And the sources warn, every year of delay pushes us deeper into the expensive fragility lane. The costs, human and economic, just skyrocket with inaction.
So radical transformation is still the rational choice, even if prevention is off the table?
It's the only viable option left, rooted in compassion, urgency, and aligned wisdom. But it has to happen now. The cost of waiting is catastrophic.
Okay, so what does this mean for you, the listener? Actionable insights, feasible actions.
The sources lay out a few areas, acknowledging the challenges.
First, decarbonize and NABU. Still technically possible to limit warming if emissions peak by 2027.
Technically, yes, if followed by rapid decline. But the political and corporate will for that kind of global mobilization, it seems very low right now, requires huge systemic change.
Second, DI for OM. Developing AI aligned with wisdom and compassion metrics. Blocking speciesist commands. How feasible is that?
Technically, sources suggest it's surprisingly high feasibility, if we choose to prioritize it, if society demands it.
Third, local resilience. Community food, water, energy independence, permaculture, rainwater harvesting, local grids.
Medium feasibility, they suggest. Needs strong community buy-in, shifting away from total reliance on global systems.
Fourth is more controversial, cultural shift. Normalizing grief, rage, even eco-sabotage as moral responses.
It's mentioned as a hard but potentially necessary shift in perspective given the scale of the crisis and the inertia of the current systems. A difficult point, but it's in the analysis.
And finally, prepare for collapse. Individual and community skills. Farming, medicine, conflict resolution.
Basic practical skills for navigating disruption become crucial at the individual and local level, yes.
And the underlying message is, Every bit counts.
Every zero point 0.1 degrees Celsius matters. Every policy, every protest, every aligned DI, every community garden. It all buys time, softens the landing. It matters.
Okay, so to recap this deep dive, we've looked at the moral filter, this idea of planetary self-correction. We've seen Earth's systems are critical, the filter seems active, and our own self-interest is tied directly to the planet's health.
Whether we like it or not.
Right. So the final thought to leave people with, what's the real question now?
The sources challenge us. The real question isn't can we stop it? Because much is already locked in. It's how bad will we let it get?
And that idea of post-apocalyptic curiosity being a luxury?
A dangerous luxury, yes. Living through collapse isn't a movie. It's brutal, boring, lonely, no Mad Max stuff, just scarcity and grief.
So the only unique experience left is...
Did we fight like hell to soften the landing?
Yep.
Or did we just scroll through the end times? That's the choice reflected in our actions or inactions.
Which leads to the final personal question for you, the listener.
Yeah. What choice will you accelerate through your actions today? Will you contribute, consciously or unconsciously, to the chaotic dieback? Or will you actively push towards that deliberate, painful, but necessary transition, towards a syntropic future, a stewardship era?
And the final reminder from the sources is quite stark.
It is. The Earth doesn't care. The universe doesn't care. Future generations, they will care intensely, but they won't be here to thank you.
So do it because...
So do it for the only reason that matters.
Yeah.
Because it's right.